Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 18, Text 9 and 10. Vatsam kalpaya me veera, yenaham vatsalattava, dokshe kshira mayam kaman, anurupam cha dohanam, dogdaram cha mahabaho, bhutanam bhutabhavanam, annam ipsita urjasvad, bhagavan vanchate yadi. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O great hero, protector of living entities, if you desire to relieve the living entities by supplying them sufficient grain, and if you desire to nourish them by taking milk from me, you should make arrangements to bring a calf suitable for the purpose and a pot in which the milk can be kept, as well as a milkman to do the work. Since I will be very much affectionate towards my calf, your desire to take milk from me will be fulfilled. Purport. There are nice instructions. These are nice instructions for milking a cow. The cow must first have a calf, so that out of affection for the calf, she will voluntarily give sufficient milk. There must also be an expert milkman and a suitable pot in which the milk to keep the milk. Just as a cow cannot deliver sufficient milk without being affectionate to her calf, the earth cannot produce sufficient necessities without feeling affection for those who are Krishna conscious. Even though the earth's being in the shape of a cow may be taken figuratively, the meaning herein is very explicit. Just as a calf can derive milk from a cow, all living entities, including animals, birds, bees, reptiles, aquatics, can receive their respective foods from the planet Earth, provided the human beings are not asat or adhritavrata, as we have previously discussed. When human society becomes asat or ungodly or devoid of Krishna consciousness, the entire world suffers. If human beings are well behaved, animals will also receive sufficient food and be happy. The ungodly human being, ignorant of his duty to give protection and food to animals, kills them to compensate for the insufficient production of grains. Thus no one is satisfied, and that is the cause for present condition in today's world. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So Mother Earth is continuing her conversation with Prithu Maharaj, having requested Maharaj Prithu to recover all the seeds which she had kept hidden by the standard process recommended by the Acharyas, which Prabhupada explained yesterday. The standard process was of performing yajna for the pleasure of the supreme maintainer of all living entities, Lord Vishnu, Krishna, who is within and without of the entire existence. And today's verse says that because Mother Earth is in the form of a cow, so whatever she is saying has to be taken figuratively to connect it to connected to Mother Earth. So here it is said, if you desire to nourish them by taking milk from me, that means if Mother Earth has to deliver the food grains, you should make arrangement to bring a calf suitable for this purpose. And Prabhupada explains this calf means devotees of the Lord, and a pot in which the milk can be kept, as well as milkmen to do the work. That means the society, all the different parts, components of a society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they should all do their respective work. Since I'll be affectionate towards my calf, your desire to take milk from me will be fulfilled. So we discussed yesterday how this world is set up by its creator, by the Supreme Lord. And how these principles, the requirements for plenty of food grains on the earth are not being met by the modern society, as the population is not even minimally Krishna conscious. Minimal Krishna consciousness means the population accepts that every day, even my duty within the Varnashrama system as, let's say, Kshatriya or a Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra, should be performed for the pleasure of Vishnu. The Krishna says, Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha yajñād bhavati parjanyo. Then he says, Yajñaha karma samudbhava. When the members of this society, they perform their assigned duties as per their varna, as per their qualities of work, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. When they offer that work, because society has to run based on, people have to work in the society. Work is a very fundamental aspect of civilization, of a society. Without work, there is nothing. Whether in Krishna consciousness or Maya consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, we work for Krishna. In Maya consciousness, we work for Maya. Maya bodily identities, which have nothing to do with me. Eternally, permanently. Because each life I take different bodies. This Maya, serving Maya means serving a wrong person. You are not serving yourself. You are serving a wrong person. So it's Maya Seva, serving Maya. So as we discussed yesterday, the entire population, neither they know that they are part of the society, human society is a part of a community which is supposed to work according to Varnashrama system. And in that, every Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, everybody's work is offered as a yajna to the Supreme Lord, which includes, as we said yesterday, grahasthas, not only simply grossly working, There are some spiritual practices also for them as a human being. They have to offer actual fire sacrifice, etc. So this is a normal system. And this requirement that yajna karma samudbhava, from karma comes the yajna, because everybody is working for Vishnu, dedicating his work for Vishnu. So today's society, we don't see that anybody is offering their work to Vishnu. So even though they are very busy, they are working very hard. Ugra karma, that is not Krishna karma, that's not yajnartat karma. It is ugra karma. So this ugra karma does not produce any punya. So it is a complete, if you do the complete analysis, keeping the fact that Sankirtana yajna is a yajna for Kali Yuga, it is definitely the Sankirtana movement which is sustaining this present world. We should boldly at least tell ourselves, to outsiders, those who do not have any touch with the knowledge that Krishna has given, if you tell that it is Sankirtana that is sustaining the world, they will laugh. Right? But we should boldly believe that actually this is the way the Lord has set up this world. And as per the normal running of this world, certain ingredients like this yajnarthat karma is not being offered at all by the society. So therefore the society has to suffer from lack of food grains. Now at least some food grain is there, but there is another important point that Prabhupada is mentioning in today's purport. He says that because there is shortage of food grains, people are taking to the ungodly human being, ignorant of duty to give protection and food to animals, kills them to compensate for the insufficient production of grains. So it may not be, from this we can see, it may not be true that there is sufficient grains at present, because a large population is living on animal food. And this living on animal food itself, according to even modern environmentalists who study the various ways of sustainability of earth, sustainability of agriculture, they themselves have concluded that if man stops eating meat, means if the population stops eating meat or decreases eating meat, it will save a lot of water, and which means more arable land. More land can be cultivated, more grains can come. Because they have found out that if, say, cows, they need grass, grass needs rains. To convert a plant food into an animal food, it consumes 10 times the water than to cultivate plant food for the same amount of carbohydrate, proteins, etc. That means earth has to spend 10 times water to produce 1 unit of carbohydrates, protein, etc. than what it has to spend, the amount of water spent to create same 1 unit of carbohydrate, protein out of plant food. So even now, United Nations, everybody, because these are research facts, no? So in terms of sustainability, even the United Nations, based on research of big universities in the world, are saying that earth cannot sustain an animal food program. We have to, increasingly the population has to live on plant food. Though people say, because of association with the Hindus, oh, your vegetarianism is religious. For religious sake, you are saying, be vegetarian, be vegetarian. That may be true because of killing the animals. But go to the next level. The material scientists themselves have researched that the earth cannot be sustained by the population depending on animal food. Every environmentalist knows this. It is an open fact in the last 3-4 decades of research. They say that ultimately there will be great shortage of water if population, more and more population get into eating meat. Because to produce that meat, or produce a meat carbohydrate, meat protein, it requires 10 times water than to produce a plant carbohydrate, plant protein. And water comes naturally from the rain due to yajna. Yajnat karmanat. Because everybody, the whole world is working. Now you see the busy people are working now. Prabhupada says busy intelligence. The useless busy intelligence. Creating so many things unwanted, not required for the basic necessity of human being. Because according to Vedic system, the human life is so rare that the human life has a different rule or different expectation is there from the human life. Human life is a very small, tiny percentage of all the living entities on the earth. The number of living entities in your mouth, the bacteria, exceed the human population. So you can imagine how many few living entities have got a human body compared to number of living entities. Very rare. So it's very rare. Therefore, human beings are expected to not live like animals. And human beings are coming into a human form in order to be promoted to the spiritual world. And that is why the Vedic scriptures are given. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. In a restricted way with lot of do's and don'ts. One should execute his artha and kama. Once we are born in a material body, we have material karma which gives kama, entitlement for kama, entitlement for artha. That means ability to enjoy senses, ability to have power through money, kama, artha. But it has to be governed by do's and don'ts. What you will do, what you will not do with your money, what you will do, what you will not do with your senses. These do's and don'ts are called dharma. And then these dharmas, as I explained in the beginning, there are different levels of pleasing Vishnu. Pleasing Vishnu by karma, as a yajna, that is a very fundamental level expected of the human beings. Then the purpose of human being is served. What is the purpose of human life? Purpose of human life is a jumping board to eternal life. Whether that eternal life one may be Mayavadi or this or that or whatever it is. Go beyond this body. To rise beyond this body, bodily self, identification, bodily self. So that is a rarest, because this animal, the soul like us, like we are in this body, human body, souls are in the animal. In there, that animal cannot engage in self-realization, cannot engage in, if they have to come to a human form of life, which is a jumping platform, they have to come in a human form of life and do atata brahma jijnasa, and then in the human body there is that intelligence endowed by the Lord to understand things beyond matter, about spirit. So this is the main occupation of the human being. So that is the reason why the requirements of a human being in life, simple living, high thinking, their requirements are kept minimum. So that the human being individually and collectively don't spend too much time in production of so many consumer goods like now. So much hard work is going on in producing these consumer goods. And these consumer goods are actually, people were living very happily. Human beings are living happily without the need for all this consumer goods, which means you are consuming so much energy, wasting so much energy. Just like the example I gave yesterday of how in a football stadium, people are, in different levels of gallery, they are sitting, they are watching the game. And the first row stands up, the second row will stand up because they are blocking them. Because of that, like that, the whole stadium will be standing and watching the football. End of the day, what is it? They are all watching football game. But they are all spending more energy standing and doing. If a very powerful preacher comes and he says, sit down, first row, sit down, then everybody will sit. So much energy is saved. This is what Prabhupada is saying. Simple living, high thinking. That we should establish Varnashrama community where we don't have all these unnecessary, unwanted goods. And all the energy is focused on self-realization. If you see, this was very much prevalent in our Indian culture even 300, 400, 500 years back. Human beings were, all these industries were not there. So they had a very simple life. By evening they are all sitting somewhere. Of course they don't go sleep at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. They sleep at, once dusk, they'll go to some temple, they'll hear Ramayana, Mahabharata, Harikatha. Your generation might not have heard. But in my generation I have heard. In my younger days I have heard. People were a little free, especially in the villages. They have to go and sit. There will be some preacher who is talking Harikatha or Ramayana or Mahabharata. It's part of our culture it was. So every kid, everybody knew about these scriptures. So where they see that the point I'm making is that time has to be given for engaging in self-realization, human being. Human being right now, they are not engaging in that. They are only engaging in what? Like Prabhupada said, a polished animal civilization running on 4 wheels. A polished way you are working in order to earn, in order to eat in a polished means what? Compared to animals. Polished way of eating, polished way of sleeping, polished way of mating, polished way of fighting. When two dogs fight, and you feel why they are fighting. Don't fight. Right? But when 2 countries here are fighting, nobody talks about that. It's just like 2 dogs barking. Just like 2 dogs barking. So polished way of fighting is there. Eating, sleeping, mating, fighting. Eating, polished way of eating, in the sense you are eating on a dining table. Dog is eating anything from the road. And even that also you are not eating like a polished. As a human being, you are not supposed to have meat and all those things. Somehow that eating meat is given such a polish that it becomes very much desirable, polished way of eating. Just like one devotee I was interviewing, simple, not so well-to-do economically, for Diksha. So I just asked, when did you stop eating meat? I asked him. He said, very simple. Even before also he said, ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ವಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದ್ಸಲಿ. ಅದು ಯಾಕೆ? ಅದು ತುಂಬ ಖರ್ಚು. It is expensive. Meat is expensive. Therefore, in the poorer families, they eat meat only once a week because they cannot afford. So how the whole society is, having all kinds of anomalies like this. If it was cheap, yes, they would have eaten more. It's expensive. So, as we discussed yesterday, this ungodliness, there is no reference to the Supreme Lord's discipline for human population, how they can be prosperous, at the same time achieve spiritual perfection. It's all topsy-turvy. Nothing is as required by the scriptures. Scriptures nothing but the manual of the living, manual of living. A scientific manual of living. So if you don't adopt those processes, naturally the system will fail. The system will create problems. More and more Adhyatmik, Adidaivik, Adi Bhautika, kleshas will increase day by day on this society. As we also, how in India in 1870s, there was a huge famine. It's called the Great Famine of India. All over India, some parts of Europe also. But whatever food grains was available in India, that was also going off to the west, to London. It is said the maximum export of grains happened during British rule, during the time of the famine. People in India have no grain. But because British had control, they take all the grains there. And it is estimated over 10 million, 8 to 10 million people died in India. So that is how you see those old pictures. Have you seen old pictures of famine? Indians full like stick, their ribs are sticking. It's all a fact. It all happened in 10 years' time. People had no food. In millions, 10 million. So you cannot take for granted rain will always come and grains will always be there. And probably because this famine and all would have happened and now things have changed. If you think little deeply, see, after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduces Sankirtana 500 years back, then for some time the purity was there, Sankirtana was going on, was happening. Gradually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement was completely infected by Sahajiyas, who instead of performing Sankirtana as a Yuga Dharma, they became imitators. That's a separate subject, you all know that. If you take our Krishna, and they were called as Chaitanya's followers, and we are calling ourselves as Chaitanya followers. If you see that if you see the history of the Sahajiyas, we have nothing common with them. So it is Bhaktivedanta Thakur who revived the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. And again the Sankirtana has begun on this earth after the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhaktivedanta Thakur was a great scholar, highly educated person. He happened to come across Lord Chaitanya's teachings. He was English educated. He was a magistrate working under the British. He realized that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings are so glorious and it can save the world, but it has been misused by ignorant followers to engage in imitating Radha and Krishna Leelas as Sahajiyas. They thought that is Chaitanya's teachings. That is the highest teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have to have so much adhikara to go there, to be there, to do that kind of things, to be in the Gopi Bhav the whole day. All this you have to clean your kama bhava in your head and your heart before you practice gopi bhava. So misuse of that resulted in, naturally, will result in negative results. So it's very interesting that the world has started changing for good in that sense of prosperity. All big technological advances have been made during the later part of the 18th century. Later part of 18th century. And that is when this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement was revived by Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Then further revived by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Under each of these acharyas, huge Sankirtana yajna, activity for the pleasure of, real activity for the pleasure of Vishnu has begun on this earth. And then with His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, at a world level, this Sankirtana is happening. And that is why this is a dawn of the golden age of Kali Yuga. What all has happened in the last 150 years, 100 years, 125 years, 150 years, you see. Is a singularity in the history. It's not that gradually science has developed and so many things were discovered over 2000 years. No, it's not there. Suddenly things changed. The world was almost the same. Singularity means suddenly something happens. So huge scientific discoveries happened in the 1800s and 1900s. And we are seeing the fruit of all that, this technology and all this. The world was not like that. There were no electricity. There were no tires. There were no tubes. There were no cycles even. Now you say, hey, why cycle was not there before? Such a simple thing. Every ordinary cycle manufacturer is manufacturing. Why this world does not have cycle? Before 1900, why there were no cycles? 1900, we are not talking about, we tend to think cycle was always there. There were no cycle, there were no tires. Tires came in 1900s. Cycle itself came. If the tire was not there, the cycle cannot be run. So cycle, tire, all this. Motor car, internal combustion engine, all come in the 1900s. So just see, how the world has changed. And beyond that, the big changes that happened in the discoveries in physics. Because of the discoveries in physics, that is the reason why you have light here. Why you have this electrical energy here. Why you have nuclear energy. You think all these things are accidental? No. Krishna utilizes the living entities, anarthas, whatever unwanted thing also, to achieve his end also. His end to bring in the golden age. Don't you think that all these things are benefiting Krishna consciousness? Today, if this microphone was not there, how many people I can reach in a hall like this? I have to be yelling. Right? such nice hall, such lights, microphone, online also. How all these things? You cannot take for granted. These things did not exist on this earth. These are changes that has happened. So we see that these technologies are all, the Supreme Lord is in control of everything, is making best use of people's anarthas to spread Krishna consciousness as predicted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this golden period, to bring about this golden period on earth. Because preaching is what? Communication. If you cannot communicate, you cannot preach. Right? And what is every day, technology's greatest progress is in the matter of communication. So these are not accidents. People are forgetting God, but they are still within the boundary of the Lord's bigger plan. He converts their anarthas also into His scheme to bring about this change in this world, to give the special mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna has himself come down as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a golden age, giving special mercy. At least we can remember, we have a proof for that, because we ourselves are proof. Our own lives are the proofs. How powerful the holy name is, how powerful this is changing. We had no exposure to our scriptures, our shastras, all would have finished. Nobody will touch this Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and all. If you just stick to a scientific, if you take to a modern scientific mentality. Any questions? Yes. Yesterday I was telling about, there is one, I was reading Prabhupada's one letter. Prabhupada is writing that for 2 years, when they were in Hyderabad, there were no rains, there was a drought for 2 years. And Prabhupada is writing that we organized several days of Sankirtana, and then immediately that brought rain. So Prabhupada has practically demonstrated this fact that by Sankirtana Yajna, it brings rain, brings prosperity. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, due to advancement of science, now see that there is a lab culturing. Like in early 1990s, there was a sheep which was cloned. Which was cloned by name Dolly. Okay. So they removed a cell from an original sheep and they cultivated somehow. They cloned that sheep. That's the number one. And number two, I was just referring to a website. They say that now meat cultivation is possible in laboratory itself. So now we see that, how do we understand there is a karmic reaction involved in this? If you tampered with the animal's life, then there is a karmic reaction. Now it has gone to another level itself. So how do we understand this?
That's because golden age is coming. Less killing. By technology, they are creating false meat. By technology. So meat, scientifically, if you see what is wrong, that is also giving carbohydrate, that's also giving protein. It is a killing that makes the difference, isn't it? Isn't it? Once it goes into the stomach, it's all converted into carbohydrates and proteins and vitamins and micronutrients and all, that's all, correct? By itself, meat doesn't know it is meat. Rice doesn't know it is rice. They're only protein, they're what the body needs. So why I said is because good, less and less people, technology is giving them the meat taste by producing meat-like thing. It is not the look of the meat that we are saying is bad for the world. It is not the taste of the meat we are saying it's bad for the world. It is the killing of the animals that is disturbing this world. That is what is not sustainable. So if in the laboratory they can create meat, less sin on the earth.
Still it will not be ma amsha, like meat, mansa. Prabhupada says that mansa means ma amsha. So still it is an amsha of animal. They would have somewhere
It is amsha of?
Amsha of an animal. Even if it's taken, it's cultivated.
But it is not animal, no. It's not amsha of animal. How they are saying? Acha, they are taking some cells from the animal.
Yes, bro.
Okay.
Still, would there be any karmic reaction? Because Prabhupada says mansa means mamsha. You wanted my amsha this life, next life I will take your mamsha.
So the world can take, we need not take. We won't take, we don't offer. Something less sin on the earth is always encourageable. Let them eat. Let them eat. Because it should not remind us about meat. Meat has got another aspect also, high protein, a certain type of high protein, which is not good for us, spiritual life also. There used to be, about 20 years back, first time, 25 years back, these soya nuggets came. Heavy soya nuggets. And its texture and everything, it was like meat only. And some senior Vaishnava told us that you should not take that. It's not desirable. Every devotee liked it. So practically every day in our Bellary Road old temple, we used to cook that soya nuggets, this size pieces. Its texture, everything, when you bite, everything is like meat only. And devotees also, Prabhu, very nice, very nice, very nice. Oh, you have stopped it. But it was, as you said, it reminds you of something, it is like mamsa. Not good for the consciousness. So there are many finer things. But on a macro scale, if you see, it is for the karmis, is better they take that than kill animals and take. Grandaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.